So is there ever a need for war where you go to battle, like literally, and you destroy things? Does that need to happen in the art of war? Does it ever talk about like, yeah, we're actually girding for battle right now. We may have to take, take this on at another level. Is that talked about too, in addition to taking whole, in addition to like
Yes,
resolving conflict? How do you do that?
yes. The preponderance of the art of war is about taking whole and about skillful actions to enable you to do that. Ways of being yourself, ways of training groups of people to do that. But there is an acknowledgement that in extreme circumstances, a an act that may seem destructive, you could call it war, comes in a lot of different little phrases. And the main thing it says is you must do it quickly and decisively.
Ah,
So I think, the other thing it says right in the second chapter, The Art of War, is about all the ways in which warfare is detrimental to society, economically, socially. And it basically says no state has ever benefited from prolonged military activity,
well, so quickly and
ever.
decisively is an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
dimension.
It's that only when ruthlessly evaluating your biases, your projections, your places of holding on, and that it is out of compassion for the bigger whole, there are times when that is the only solution. Jumping to that too soon misses the complete point. But the power of the art of war is it doesn't try to shy away from the hard stuff. And I think that,
Yeah.
this is um, the kind of place that a lot of people seize on who want to go there first, who think that's the solution. But have we not learned that suppression of our own neurosis and bad habitual patterns or something we see evil in the world only brings it to pop up somewhere else stronger? It's just too short-sighted um, a scope to evaluate what the impact of that kind of action is going to be. You might think you're solving a problem, but you're perhaps creating a bigger problem that you're not open to seeing. And I think that's what happens a lot when these wars to end all wars, these actions to remove despots, what do they produce in the 20 or 30 years that immediately follow? In my observation, it's nothing but persistent and even more supported, um, you know, activity that's detrimental to the whole. So,
Right.
I mean, you look at how the world was divided up politically after World War II, and you can say that the 70s, 80s, 90s in Central Europe, all it was is that shit falling apart and the aggressions that were submerged and separated and cordoned off, broke out of that. And
So here's what I'm extracting from what you
yeah,
just said. It
yeah.
has to be strategic.
Well, that's the least of it, I would say. Of course, it's always strategic,
No, I mean, you have to
but
understand consequences that will
yeah,
come forth from,
yeah.
and you have to have a kind of longer perspective on that.
And it comes from the exhaustion of all the other efforts.
Mm.
I mean, I watched the Daily Show, and John Kerry was on Monday
Oh,
and
oh,
or Tuesday, and he talked about diplomacy, and he says, diplomacy is just fundamentally about human relations, personal relations. You've got to understand a person, walk in their shoes. Where do they come from? What's important to them? And only if you understand and acknowledge that can you come to a diplomatic solution to a deep problem. And he says, and you got to start that with your first step.
Mm,
You got to start on that 20 years ago,
right.
not when the. So our actions have to always be in light of, the future challenging possibilities.
So maybe I'll throw this into the wind as we sort of wind down here,
Yeah.
because obviously we could. I'm getting activated. I could get much more curious.
I'm not going to 4 o'clock, David.
Okay, no, it's good. It's early in the morning. We could just go till noon. But
Okay.
seriously, the application of this to current circumstances, and we're somewhat depressingly, from my point of view, always at the edge of some kind of annihilation of something. And things have to be destroyed, like our life has to end. We have to move on. But is there any feeling about is this just necessary part of the process of being alive to have this kind of sense of frustration with the level of ignorance and confusion that permeates our species? Is there is this a dark age in some sense? Is that just new age gobbledygook that this is a dark age and things are particularly tricky right now? Isn't this just who we are?
Isn't what just who we are? That,
Conflict,
uh-huh.
aggression. It's part of our fabric, and it's
Evidently.
yeah, evidently. So I guess the there's no real question there other than a final look at human nature.
And again, I would say that's why after like struggling with that personally, the art of war spoke to me because it isn't negating that conflict is a natural part of living in an interconnected society. And I would say over the years, that is the message that gives people most relief when they hear it. That
Mm,
conflict isn't an aberration or a mistake. It's actually a natural outcome. In fact, it's a very informative outcome because it highlights what's still challenging in the interconnected web. It's just not working. So let's pay attention to that. So that switch is really, really helpful. And then I think there's just a lot of wisdom in that text about how do you manifest as an integral part of that interconnected system to not continue to perpetuate that aggression,
yeah.
and still deal realistically with the challenges that being human in a society, in a world present.